Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for staying tuned. And those of you, especially in our social media, we are receiving the feedback and joining in the discussion on our Twitter platform at Smart24 TV and as well on our YouTube live stream at Smart24 TV Live. Today we are discussing political success factors that actually do affect the fiscal space here in Uganda. That when we talk about fiscal space, we are talking about the availability of resources to government for investment in the health sector, in the education sector, and other forms of service delivery. I'm with Honorable Dennis, who is the Member of Parliament of Kibgum, and also Honorable Manyanzachi, who is the Director Operation Wealth Creation. Honorable, you were driving your point home before we went into the break on some of the strategies that government officials, legislators can use in order to implement policies that are geared towards building, first of all, the good political will, but also getting to focus on availability and the proper utilization of resources.
Yes, I was basically expounding on corruption, but Ugandans are tired of that. And it's like now they are getting immune with corruption scandals. And we are saying even if that vice of, like for example in our budget, it is estimated that 20% do not reach where it's supposed it is, it's not utilizable. So if we are having 40 trillion as in our budget, we are going to have 8 trillion vanish, or maybe 10 trillion. So almost a quarter of the budget. So which means that people are not getting resources. The little that is remaining there again goes into the cost of administration. The little that comes again goes into, it is whole, the situation is a bit messed up. To me, in my opinion, I think we need to revolutionize the way we do things. And if we don't do that, we are heading for doom, because Uganda may never take off. And the worst thing is that Ugandans, when we talk about development, people tend to look at the buildings. They say, look at those malls. Development is not about malls, it's not about apartments, it's not about good houses in Muyenga. Development is about human capital, human development.
Yes.
How are the people better off than how they were? You can have all these kind of buildings, but you have a big section of the whole of northern Uganda that is talking about 68% in poverty, absolute poverty. You have another 60% in the southwestern, abject poverty. As I had said there earlier, but you're only having 50% enjoying these resources. That is not development. That is an equitable distribution of resources. So, apart from fighting poverty, I'm repeating myself, distribute the resources efficiently. Give the distribution of, develop the north, develop the east, develop the central, develop all the regions. And as I said earlier, have industrial developments all over in the country to spur industrial development and services. That is what creates jobs, not creating border jobs, saruni jobs. When I was talking about Emyoga, we are talking about parish development model. How can you want to spur production at the local level, but the money you are sending into these parishes is to finance saroons, palming the hair, is about buying borders for the border guys, border economy. You are sending this money into those, it is deceptive. Instead of sending this money, and let's say like what Honorable had said, you say what is good for Uganda? Coffee. You say we are putting half trillion, 500 billion for the coffee sector. We have sent 500 billion to the West for tea sector. We have sent so much kind of money to Kigezi to develop the horticulture sector, vegetables, flowers, etc. We have sent so much money to northern Uganda for seed sector, simsim, maize, etc.
True.
So that we have production. And then you say we have put that, that is the way we can develop this country. And then you say we have put so much kind of money to go into the mineral exploitation. The wealth, the kind of wealth that we have into minerals is amazing. But here you say you are basically, you get 1.5 trillion shillings into parish development model for eating, and you are telling Honorable to go into his constituency and tell the people that this is the game changer. How? When I gave you the equation that if you give it to every household, you are going to give it 60,000 shillings. How can 60,000 be a game changer for a household? So we need to be serious and do things that are transformational in nature. If we don't do this, that it is not possible. When you talk about harnessing the demographic dividend, you put that money into educating and equipping the youth with appropriate skills. Appropriate skills for the youth is not border. It's not giving them, it's not a university student, finish education, you give him a border, and you say you have equipped him, bonabagagawale, you are actually killing him because he will never come up. But if we are talking about, say, appropriate skills, we are talking about now, when we say like now oil sector, educate the skills, educate the youth into the skills that tap into the oil sector. Welding, for example. We are going to have an oil pipeline all through to Tanzania. Was, I think, I don't know, $5 billion, more than that. I'm not sure. I don't want to talk about these figures. But how much is going to be injected into our local economies, into our local economic development. We shall be having welders coming from outside Uganda, like how we have Chinese constructing the roads, but the drivers of the trucks are Chinese. Everybody is from the Chinese, so no money is remaining here. So equip the youth with appropriate skills. We are talking about artificial intelligence. Give these skills that tap into IT, into technology, into how they can use this kind of modern technology. But you are giving them money for doing mobile money. And you see, you are giving these youth, you are developing them, but all the money you say, you are giving them money to do mobile money, siphoning money from within the economy. These other multinational developers are even one of the multinational companies are the reason why we're even backward, because they do illicit. They don't pay taxes here. They come, siphon money from Uganda, exchange it into dollarize the money, they repatriate the money. That is illicit trade. So the kind of thing that we're talking about, instead we would be talking about equip the youth with the appropriate skill into the IT. So that what the other thing that we are talking about, for example, drone, instead of using this kind, you have drones being operated by the Ugandans. The other day we were clapping and dancing that Uganda has launched a satellite in the economy. That satellite, which has millions of dollars, how many Ugandans are benefiting from that $million in the sky? What has that satellite in the sky helped a farmer in Karamoja?
I think they use it for meteorological reasons to determine weather patterns and to get to predict weather.
Okay, fine, no problem. They can do those gymnastics. I was educated by my mom, who never went to school, but he was a genius. May her soul rest in peace. But you could even predict the weather herself Traditionally, he knew this mass. Yes, okay, seasons are changing. Okay, fine, seasons are changing. But as you are predicting this weather, you are predicting it's going to be a drought. How much money have you provided for irrigation systems in this country? If you are saying, okay, fine, you want that satellite to predict weather, are you appropriately matching the investment that you are putting in there with the investment here? Or you are using this rocket as a siphoning, what? It is the same ministry you talk telling about.
Yeah.
Silk. You told silk what?
Sericulture.
Sericulture. I wanted you to put it in a language which Ugandans can understand.
Worms.
Sericulture, what he's talking about is the culture of growing worms to get silk for these silk dresses and what. Why don't we put that money into the cotton sector, which we understand very well? Which we have, so that we stop importing cotton. Even in the cotton that our children are using now, the factories that we had like in Nyanza, textiles, Nike, they all died. So why are we going into silk when we have cotton that we know very well, that we can do yarn, that we can do clothing, and which is highly demanded in the world, and we are going into growing worms.
Most complicated.
Silk, it is a way, it is a sophisticated way of siphoning money from the
society,
from the society, from the consolidated fund, and you will even never have the skills and the knowledge of tracking that kind of money. Impossible. You leave that, they go to another one. They leave that, they go to another. Why don't we do what we can do best?
Yes, thank you, Honorable. I want to actually bring Honorable Dennis on that point. Honorable Dennis, when you talk about the point of specialization, when you look at the budget, I've looked at the framework, which was actually approved by Parliament. And one of the things that blew my mind was the fact that tourism had an 89.2 billion budget lower this time round. And this is, according to NDP3 projections, we are moving backwards because tourism is one of the sectors that Uganda is actually currently being held on. And when you look at Kenya, it doesn't have so many tourist attractions. But because of the massive investment they have made in tourism, in hotel industry, and so on, they are reaping a lot. Are we putting our efforts also in a particular direction? Yes, maybe it's not tourism, maybe it's agro-industrialization. But are we making efforts to specialize and get to improve in certain areas of priority, in our financing especially?
Yeah, Comrade Anthony, in Uganda we are random, we are everywhere. We don't specialize, that's a big challenge. We begin a project, we live on the way. We only want to milk the cow, but we don't want to feed the cow. Tourism would actually be very excellent in this country. We're looking at very good features that we have in Uganda, ranging from the park, the water bodies, and all these kind of things, which are rare to find in other countries. If you travel across the world, if you went to other countries, then you return to your country, Uganda, you will know how beautiful Uganda is. That is for the fact. But how we are using what we have is very, very, very questionable. We have the tourism section that would actually create a lot of resources to the GDP of this country, which is underlooked. There are few individuals like the Amos Wekesa.
Yes.
Those are very prominent guys. When I hear about them, I feel that these guys love this country. They market this country. But now you see, here comes the ministry that puts in very little budget, taking a lot of money, but does not invest back. Again, also, tourism section would also create employment to the local people where the tourist site, the tourism attraction site are. For example, if you go to this one here,
Kidepo.
Masishon here and the Kidepo. The local areas, the local surrounding, the local people around would get a lot of employment. That is if you invest in those kind of things. Invest in hotels, invest on recreation facilities, invest on culture, exportation things, and the people will be performing. They will be getting money from there. So we diversify a lot to an extent that we have failed to know exactly what is our need as a country. If we could really sit down and draw a line on the sand that this and this and this are major priorities for this country, let's put more target there. Let's invest for the country. The whole thing goes back when my honorable senior Henry was talking about helping the youth, investing in the youth, educating them, skilling the youth. It is very critical. What is killing this country is the belief that handouts can make someone develop. Handouts, this money that you're given as a donation,
Handshakes.
the handshake, the president comes and gives it 1 million per person, 50 billion to the market. Women will clap and they make ovulation here and there. Then they distribute 2,000 to themselves. They're happy, okay?
For that moment.
And because they feel they have been given for free. And with experience and growth, I've realized that handouts is like trying to buy your day. You buy today. If you don't get tomorrow, you not buy tomorrow. You get it. So that is a very big challenge. Unless we invest in things that can last. Because if you get an out, for example, if you give me 500 million, if you give me 500 million, I don't know how I got that money. If it begin leaving my hands, I will not know how to control it. But if you give me the route of how to make 500 million, believe me, it cannot leave my hand.
Absolutely.
Because I would be knowing how it came in my hands. So these are the kind of things that my senior was talking about. Invest, skill the youth, give them knowledge. Not only giving them the saloon thing, as if you are limiting their faculty of understanding that what you are able to do is saloon. Invest in them, give them a lasting thing. Make use of the surrounding, what is available. Now, this kind of out giving has made the entire countrywide, really to believe that you cannot live without being given a small money. To an extent that others now believe life is in border riding. I'm not saying border riding is bad, it's very good. It is also job creation. Someone creates the job. But now the challenge comes when a young man from the village of Pade Napak Kidepu goes and sell 15 acres of land for 3.5 million because he wants to buy a motorcycle to ride it and make a daily income of 10,000. He wants to stay in town. Then, after selling the 15 acres of land, buying the motorcycle at 3.5 million, he's not well trained how to ride the motorcycle. He gets an accident, goes to hospital, more land is sold, so that he is recovered from the hospital. He doesn't survive, he dies, more land is sold to bury him. Now, this is a kind of syndicate that the entire country is being formulated in it.
How people are being perpetuated.
It is terrible. 2 weeks ago, I had a very lengthy discussion with one of the professors at Makerere. We were looking at, I went there actually as a former guild president. We were analyzing. Normally I go for certain informations. So we're looking at, why can't President Museveni realize that his time is out. He's aging. He has done his part. Can he really love this country so that he wishes this country well? Can he choose a path of earning over this country with the right thing that can sustain it? That is what I'm meaning is, can he really start doing the right thing that can benefit the future of the young generation? So that they look at life after him? That's the kind of discussion that now we are babbling with it. We are trying to see, does he look at that? Can that really happen? So that we try to see. A lot of mess has happened. But how can we now bring back the country? First of all, to unite the country. Bring the country together to believe that I who comes from the north, the Honorable Banyanjaki who comes from the west, we are one. We are Ugandans. How can we come into realization that even if I don't believe in the sitting government, but I love my country, and I love my brother, I love my sister. How can we come together so that we bring this regional balancement on board and also create a sense of unity that all of us, when we sit on the table, we speak one language of growth and development. Without political affiliation kind of divide and rule, without the un-out kind of thing that let me keep you in a package so that you keep on coming and getting this. One person wrote somewhere that the government is so good to an extent that he can break your legs. After breaking your leg, gives you a walking stick, then comes telling you that, you see, if it was not because of me, you would not be walking. I'll give you a stick. So that is what is happening. Create poverty, maintain them in that circus so that you sustain the state. But again, now we are saying, can you now hand over in a good way? You have been in the steering wheel for long. Anyway, it is a bigger debate. Yes. It is a very bigger thing. So, generally, this country needs a lot of things. If you look at the topic we are discussing, the political economic analysis of what? The fiscal space. For us to decide on important areas to invest in more money, needs also patriotism, needs also realization of who we are, what we lack, how can we actually get there?
It's very critical.
Unity is key.
Absolutely.
What beats my understanding is actually people believing, this one is what, this one is what. It is bad. It is going to erupt in this country. It's terrible. That is a big challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Honorable Dennis. We are taking a very short breather, ladies and gentlemen, and we return with our final segment as we wind up our discussion on fiscal policy and political economic factors. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We return shortly. Thank you, Honorable Dennis.
Yeah.